Kootenay Pirates on another fun geocaching adventure. This time, we get to explore some ghost towns in Nevada. There's geocaches in them there hills. Here's Nevada's Highway 50, nicknamed America's Loneliest Road. This motel looked pretty darn scary when we first saw it, but when we got closer, it still looked scary. This is still part of America's Loneliest Road. This is a fitting name, Middlegate, because it's right in the middle of nowhere. Kinda felt out of place here. I think we should have had a horse and some dirty old jeans. We did spend some time snooping around here. It was like going back in time. Look at this. The sun has pretty much peeled off all the paint. It's not all flat and sandy out here. Sometimes we had to drive through mountain passes. But when you come through the mountain pass, the highway keeps going straight until you come to the next set of mountains. This is June, and the mountains of Nevada still have snow. Hope this wasn't the last geocacher. Vultures seem to be our constant companions, but the lure of geocaches kept us going. The old dry lake beds are a lot of fun. The surface is hard packed with very little dust. Austin, Nevada, my favorite of all the ghost towns we visited this trip. Austin's not quite a ghost town yet. It still has a few people hanging out with the ghosts. We even got to spend a night here, but didn't get to see any ghosts. This was kind of worrisome. We found a few newer cars all smashed up, complete with bullet holes and even license plates. We didn't stick around long enough to figure out why. Sure didn't want our rental looking like that. This is where we spent the night in Austin. Looks like a place there'd be ghosts. Got here just before closing, so we got a pizza to go and ate it in our room. Yummy! I still chuckle every time I see the sign for free restrooms. Went for a walk down Main Street in Austin as the sun was setting and got these shots. It was like walking in a huge museum. Masonic Oddfellows Hall made it to the National Register of Historic Places. This is one of the old churches in town. Notice the detail they put into landscaping. Darn, no ghosts here. This is a bed and breakfast and has a geocache right beside the gate. Elkhorn Summit, 6,870 feet. The temperature was much more comfortable up here. Austin, Nevada even has its own castle, Stokes Castle. It's definitely not like any other castle I've ever seen, but this also made it to the National Registry of Historic Places. Now we stopped by to ask this guy for directions to the next geocache. It wasn't very helpful. Usually, there's not a whole lot of color in the desert, but when there is, it really stands out. Here's another interesting ghost town we got to experience with the help of geocaching. This one is Ione. It was built in the mid-1800s when silver was discovered here. As you can see, there's a lot of old buildings still standing. Looks like it could have been a modern town in its time. Definitely got a surprise as I lifted this geocache. That's a scorpion. Gabbs, Nevada. Almost a ghost town, but still has some people living here. Not nearly as interesting as the really old towns. What this town has going for it though is it's near Nevada's oldest continuously operating mine. Berlin Townsite, another ghost town turned into a museum. Wouldn't it be nice to have a time machine to go back and see how the people lived back then? But with a quick return button because it would be really, really tough to survive back then. An actual working windmill. Bet there was a lot of lives lost fighting over the little bit of water that comes from these pumps. There's Chalk Mountain, and our plan is to try for a couple of first to finds. Here we are at Chalk Mountain Potty, and we got our first to find. Yahoo! Not only is that great, but the view of the desert below is also great. There's a lot of geocaches in the desert below, but first there's a couple really good ones we got to get up here. Thankfully that's the potty and not the geocache. Back at Middlegate we stopped for a cold drink and some more snooping. Hey, there's Mrs. Pirate looking for an elusive geocache. Another abandoned car? This one parked on the side of the road. Really don't want people in these old shafts. They're sealed off pretty darn good. Fire started on Fairview Peak, so it was exciting to watch the helicopters flying around with buckets to try and put it out. Just thought this was an interesting shot. There's a bug in each flower. It was fun just to be driving around and come onto some unexpected old ruins. I feel pretty proud of myself. This is the first time I've got a picture of a desert rabbit. They're usually running fast and in all directions at the same time. You know, the desert flowers really amaze me. They have nothing to eat or drink, but they bloom so beautifully. Sure could have spent more time at Grimes Point. Apparently there's more than 1,000 pictographs here. And I bet there's more than 1,000 of these guys too. In this area of Grimes Point, we found hundreds of small polished rocks, just like we would make as kids in our toy rock polishers. Well, sadly our trip is drawing to an end, but we did get to see some cool vegetation, some snow-capped Nevada mountains, some really interesting desert creatures, some wild horses, and much more. After our last full day of caching, we thought it only fitting to spend a night in Yearnington.